you see these women who are like morbidly obese saying, I need a man who's 6 feet tall, makes 6 figures a year. That's also what's happening. The online dating thing, how did it work? Like, what was there was a right swipe, left swipe. What was your original idea with Zusk?
No, it was not right swipe, left swipe at the beginning. It was more about data-driven matchmaking. That was the core of the idea. There's a ton of studies on if people can predict what they're looking for in a mate, and how uncorrelated what they think they're looking for is to who they actually end up with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it was like, okay, so instead of having a form at the time, all online dating sites, they had forms. So you went and filled out, I'm looking for. So we were like, none of that. So let's just take your data, who you approach, who approaches back to you, and then put that in a model and just try to predict who's the best match for you.
Wow.
So we called it behavioral matchmaking. So,
Incredible.
Yeah, we were kind of pioneer in that.
Very nice. Now you see a lot of those dating sites and it's just like short-term hookup.
Yeah, I know.
And like every year the girls on there it gets worse and worse because women don't want to be on this, and it's like 6-to-1 guys to girl ratio on some of these websites. It's really weird how that whole eco structure, it started off kind of being 50-50 and then just it went on to where it's like very difficult to use some of those apps.
Almost all women have a bad experience and 80% of men have a bad experience. 20% of men are doing great.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up. So, the recent survey, Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, they talked about 80% of men deemed unattractive on dating apps. The top 10% of men on a dating app. So if you stratify by right swipes, they get 63% of the right swipes. I mean, if you guys know anything about stats, that's ridiculous. Like that's ridiculous. That's an absurdly high number. The top 20% get 83%. So that's 1.5 standard deviations that go to 20% of men.
Right.
But when you compare it to women, or when you compare it to men, the top 63% of right swipes for men go to 43% of women. So men do still have a little bit of inflation. So like if you live in San Diego or Los Angeles, a girl who might be an 8 in Waco, Texas is like a 6 in Las Vegas. For sure, you're going to have a little bit of that. But for the most part, men find 5s to be 5s, 6 to be 6s, 7s to be 7s, whereas women finds 8s to be 5s, 7s, 9s to be 7s, and there's only one 10. It's Drake and like Chris Hemsworth. Those are the only 10s that exist, right? It's one of these things where social media has made it to where a lot of women, where they date one movie star and then eventually, or they sleep with one movie star and then they compare every man they date to that because they had access to it because of social media. I was reading somewhere at 6,000 swipes to get one date for a woman, some crazy number like that. And the vast majority of women on these dating apps are not even going on dates. They're just doing it for attention or to get people to go down their own funnel so that they can get subscribers. It's pretty amazing how that whole thing changed. It was very when it first started, it was very people had a very positive idea of how this was going to work and change the idea of dating. But it actually, it still has some positivity to it. But I think Instagram's probably the biggest dating app in the world now. Living in LA for a while and being around, you're Puerto Rico now. Yeah. What have you noticed about the dating scene since you moved here to now? Because for me, I'm 46. From the time I was managing a strip club back in 2003 to now, the world has totally changed, and the most specific reason why is because of social media. Right. What have you noticed different?
Well, I'm married now, so it's a little different. Yeah. But I want to say online dating probably changed. Online dating, as in hookup apps, probably changed the dating dynamics for the worse. I can tell you that. So I think we as humans were not designed to have access to so many other potential mates so quickly and easily. It's not our DNA or is not designed to handle it. So I think that is creating an issue because you can always have a date whenever you want on your phone. And you can now pay to boost your profile.
Isn't that crazy?
On these apps.
The boost the profile. It's the super hot girls don't have to pay. They don't have to pay to boost their profile.
So I was the first person to actually bring virtual currency to online dating apps. I mean, and I've never, the concept didn't exist. Yeah. And we did the boost, and I kind of regret having added that feature. But a lot of people have, a lot of apps have it, and it's essentially pay to play.
The anthropologist Dunbar came up with the idea of Dunbar's number. It's about 115 people. If you look at U.S. military units, they're about that size. And that would be about the size that an ancestral tribe would exist. Once they got past that size, they would bifurcate into 2 different tribes. And so what happened is the choice, the ability to choose from a certain set of partners. If I'm going through puberty, I'm 15 years old, there's only maybe 10 to 20 people in my age group. Half of them are female. and I know one of those people are who I'm going to breed with, period. And if I make a fool of myself in front of them, then I'm going to be unapologetically my genetics are going to be weeded out of existence, which is why men have approach anxiety. And then also women understood if they slept with the wrong man and had a child by the wrong man, they were going to be ostracized from the tribe. They and their child would die, which is why women have apprehension whenever they sleep with someone.
They're very selective,
for sure. That's where it comes from, the concepts in evolutionary psychology. The idea that, like, you're right, we have so much choice. Again, you remember Steve Jobs, he took all those different iPods and turned them into just one iPod. He's like, there was too much choice. And even if you go now, there's only like 3 sizes of MacBook or 2 sizes of iPhone. That's the whole kind of thing, is like you have too much choice. But here's where I think I'll take it one step further, is that people they're confused or bewildered by choice that they think they have, but they don't actually have. Right. Meaning men liking photos of women who would never piss on them if they were on fire.
Right.
And then comparing their current mate to that person. David Buss talks about this in The Evolution of Desire. If you show men pictures of really attractive women and then ask them about their spouse, they have more negative things to say about their spouse. It's like crazy stuff like that. The delinquent or the dilemma of choice, it just makes it much more difficult in all aspects. And it's not just that you can swipe and have a date. Even if you can't, you see these women who are like morbidly obese saying, I need a man who's 6 feet tall, makes 6 figures a year. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're doing that kind of stuff. And then men sitting there complaining about women, and these men haven't had sex in like 4 or 5 years. That's also what's happening. And I think the online dating has made that a problem as well.
It is a huge problem. So if you think about it, we had to damper our desires. Like we were like, okay, so this is my dating pool. And we played inside that dating pool. So when you blow it up, then what happens is that, well, women all go for the top male. Men are not as selective. So they're like not committing, and they're spreading their seeds, so to speak. So, I mean, that it makes sense. If you open it up like that, then all the things that are programmed in us from an evolutionary perspective are no longer playing the purpose that we're supposed to play.
For sure. If I'm in a tribe, let's say high school. You're in high school with 1,000 people. The head cheerleader, the hottest cheerleader is dating the quarterback of the football team. Right. Like this is the trope we've all seen a million times. And what happened is the quarterback of her football team, not the neighboring school. What's happened is there is no Waco dating. There is no Waco dating scene. There is no Des Moines dating scene. There is no Wichita dating scene. It's one global dating scene. And when a woman turns 18, if she's sufficiently attractive enough or looks so because she's using artificial intelligence to make her pictures look better. She gets scooped up and she's at Dan Bilzerian's party or Ty Lopez's party in Los Angeles, and she's meeting famous people. And so now that heart surgeon or accountant or a lawyer or doctor who lives in Wichita, Kansas, who was supposed to marry the cute girl, has no one to pick from. And all the cute girls in those smaller cities are now in Miami. They're living in Brickell, or they're living in Los Angeles, or living in Las Vegas. And then so that we get this like huge disparity. And then you have 33% of men under the age of 30 having 0 sexual partners in the last year, and 26% of men under the age of 30 are a virgin. That's where that whole thing comes from.
So at Zeus, I did an experiment. I tried to solve that problem a little bit by preventing people from changing their zip code or location. So, and when they traveled, I didn't allow them to change it too often. So I tried to make dating local, because I was like, okay, but we're going to do. The problem is you lose to the competition. Because the competition is essentially handing out candy. And if we're not doing that, we lose. So
you're trying to make their lives better, and the competition is handing out dopamine.
Exactly right.